The morning sun usually brought a symphony to the village square, but today, the great Baobab tree stood in haunting silence. For generations, its massive branches had hummed ancient melodies that kept the crops lush and the people's hearts full of joy. Now, the air felt heavy and hollow. Zara stood at the base of the giant trunk, her heart sinking as she saw the once vibrant wood turning gray and brittle. She pressed her palm against the rough, weathered bark, searching for that familiar pulse of life. There was nothing. No vibration, no song, only the bite of cold, dead wood. The silence was a physical weight. Looking down, she noticed something out of place. A trail of crushed, silver leaves led away from the square, snaking toward the shadows of the Forbidden Ridge. She remembered the rumors of Bakari the trickster lurking near the trunk at midnight. With a determined breath, Zara tightened the strap of her bag. The village depended on that song, and she was the only one brave enough to follow the thief into the dark. The journey to the Forbidden Ridge was a grueling test of will. The path grew steeper with every step, tangled with thick, black thorns that seemed to reach out for her skin. Zara dodged the sharp vines, her breath coming in ragged gasps as her feet slid on loose gravel and jagged stones. She kept her eyes locked on the trail of broken twigs and disturbed earth left behind by the trickster. "I cannot turn back," she whispered to herself, her fingers raw from gripping the cold rocks. The higher she climbed, the thinner the air became, and the more the silence of the forest below seemed to scream. Every snap of a branch under her boot sounded like a crack of thunder in the eerie stillness. She moved with the grace of a hunter, mindful of the shadows dancing between the ancient trees. She knew Bakari was near. She could smell the faint scent of ozone and trickery in the wind. The ridge was a place of ghosts and forgotten magic, but the image of the dying Baobab pushed her forward through the pain and the biting cold of the mountain air. Halfway up the ridge, the ruins of an ancient tower loomed against the sky like a broken tooth. There, sitting atop a pile of crumbling masonry, was Bakari. He looked smug, his face twisted into a self-satisfied grin as he tossed a small, glowing crystal bell into the air. Each time he caught it, the glow pulsed, but the sound was deadened by a heavy, enchanted cloth wrapped tightly around its frame. The song of the village was being held prisoner in his calloused hands. Zara crept behind a weathered pillar, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. She knew she was no match for Bakari's strength or his dark wit. She needed a distraction. Reaching into her travel bag, her fingers found a handful of sun-dried berries, hard as pebbles. She took a deep breath, calculated the angle, and hurled them against the far wall of the tower. The loud, sudden thud echoed through the ruins. Bakari jumped, spinning around with wide, panicked eyes. "Who is there?" he hissed, dropping the protective cloth in his confusion. This was her only moment. Zara lunged from the shadows, sliding across the dusty stone floor with desperate speed. Her fingers grazed the cold crystal just as Bakari realized the ruse. "You little thief!" he roared, his hands snatching at her cloak, catching only air. She rolled, tucked the bell against her chest, and dove under his outstretched arm. She didn't look back. She sprinted out of the ruins, her boots flying over the treacherous path, the wind whistling past her ears as she fled the trickster's wrath. The descent was a blur of speed and adrenaline, every muscle screaming as she raced against the setting sun. Zara did not stop until the great roots of the Baobab rose to meet her. Gasping for air, she reached into the hollow of the trunk and pressed the crystal bell back into its sacred resting place. For a heartbeat, there was a profound stillness. Then, a soft, golden light pulsed from the bell, traveling through the wood like liquid fire. A single crystalline note rang out, shattering the silence. It was followed by a rising chorus of harmonies that shook the very earth. Before her eyes, the gray, brittle bark transformed, bleeding into a vibrant, healthy green. The leaves unfurled, shimmering with life. Birds descended from the heavens, chirping in perfect rhythm with the tree's song. In the distance, the village square erupted in a roar of cheers that carried on the wind. Zara leaned her tired forehead against the warm, vibrating trunk, a smile finally breaking across her face. Above her, the first flower of the season bloomed in a burst of white and gold, a promise of life renewed.